Oh, I'm sorry. Did I break your concentration?
Somewhere between science and superstition.
We have such sights to show you.
Strange Aeons. Welcome to Strange Aeons Radio. That's Eric Morgan over there.
Yes, it is.
I'm Kelly Young. No Vanessa Williams this episode. Sorry, Bob. She apparently crossed Eric somehow, and he wished her into the cornfield. But it's not like we haven't done this.
That?
Not like we haven't done this a lot of times without her. So I think that we'll be just fine on this.
We'll see how it goes.
Yeah. Hey, man. How was your Halloween?
Pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did. Went to Mr. Steve Lang's live Stabbin' Cabin improv show of get from the name, you can probably tell it's kind of a Friday the 13th, sleepaway camp sort of parody thing going on. Let me tell you, it was a lot of fun.
It sure looked like a lot of fun, and it looked like, did he sell out again?
Yeah.
Looks like...
Yeah, it was packed.
Were all the nights sold out?
As far as I can tell, it was, and they got kind of screwed over by somebody. A group had a whole bunch on Halloween, which worked out nicely for me because I'd originally bought it for the Thursday before and wasn't able to go, and they very nicely transferred my tickets to Halloween night.
Oh, that's nice.
Like, oh, thank you to the Jet City Improv. But yeah, if you're ever in town, you go, you know what I need? I need an improv show. Jet City's pretty damn good. And if you're really lucky, Steve will be putting on a show. How about you?
I stayed in like I usually do. I wasn't feeling very Halloween-y this year for some reason. I didn't even bother the weekend before or after attending any parties or anything like that. So
weird.
Yeah.
I can't imagine you get trick-or-treaters here.
Oh, God, no. Remember, the place is zombie-proof, so it's definitely kid-proof. You got to get through a couple of locks.
Several doors.
If there was a knock at the door, I would have been like, uh-oh. Scrambled through here and seen, okay, here's a couple of pieces of bacon and a Hot Wheel.
Yeah, I saw something somebody posted somewhere online that their kid got an onion from someone.
Good.
It's like, that's kind of awesome. It's like, hey, thanks. I'll put that to use.
No, but I did use that time to watch a shit ton of scary movies and shit like that.
Oh, nice.
So I saw brand new a movie called Trick.
I have not seen that one.
It's by the director who did Drive Angry, which we have talked about on this show. And it's got a couple of horror regulars in it, and it's kind of a throwback to like the Halloween series, I guess, almost. It's got Tom Atkins in it and a couple other people. So it's got some horror cred, super low budget, and it falls completely apart in the third act. I'd still say it's better than the last 6 Halloween movies that I saw. So
I know that bar is very high for you, so that's impressive.
Yeah. Past 3, I haven't cared for any of them, to be honest.
Well, I know you saw one that I think I also saw, Haunt.
Yeah, you saw that.
Shudder. Yeah. I think you liked it more than I did.
Okay.
Although I liked it. Maybe it's because I saw a couple people just going gushing about it. And I was like, all right, we got another autopsy of Jane Doe going on here or something really, really cool. I was like, I watched it go, oh, okay, it's good. They did some really cool shit at the end.
Yes.
There's a couple insanely convenient storylines going on there, like with the boyfriend who shows up with his truck and leaves it running in the middle of the road. It's like, all right.
Yeah.
But,
well, this illustrates the fact that because of channels like Shudder, you're spoiled with good horror now. Because, 10 years ago, this would have been something to hoot and holler about.
There's plenty to like about it. Anybody who comes to me and goes, oh, this is a great movie. What's wrong with you? It's like, I can see where you thought it was a great movie. I didn't dislike it.
Right.
So, yeah, it's good. I haven't seen the other Haunt movie that a lot of people are comparing it to that wasn't very good.
Hellfest.
So that helps probably.
Yeah. So it's really interesting that you said that. Hellfest was written by a friend of mine, Seth Sherwood.
Uh-oh.
And I didn't love that movie, but I had asked him to send me the script because he had talked to me about a few things that he does in his writing style, and I wanted to see what he was actually talking about. And I asked him if I could read the script, and he sent it to me. And that script was so fucking good.
Ah, shit.
It was such a great read. I mean, there were just moments in the script that I'm reading it going, no wonder this fucker sold. Because he just is a really great writer. And then afterwards, I put it down and I was like, I wonder why I didn't like this movie very much, because it's almost all there on the screen.
Oh, weird.
It's not like it's a weird version of his
not like
script.
50 First Dates destruction that happened to that guy's script.
No. So I actually texted him and said that I really, really enjoyed the script and that the filmmakers did him no favors. And I wasn't sure why I didn't care for the movie, because I felt like it was kind of all there. And he said, yeah, that's kind of how I felt too.
Weird.
So, and he told me about a couple of the other projects he had worked on that he felt that same way. And it just goes to show you, it is hard to make a good movie.
Oh, yeah. It's so different than everybody
that
hasn't made a movie thinks it is.
Yeah, and they say, it's got to start with a good script. Well, sometimes that's not enough either. I also watched Girl on the Third Floor. Nothing? This stars, are you familiar with the name CM Punk?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
The wrestler?
Yeah. So this is kind of it felt very much like a poor man's The Shining, about a guy who goes to work on this house that he's bought for his wife and their unborn baby she's expecting, and he's going to fix this place up before she gets there. And of course, the house is very, very haunted, and he is slowly driven insane while he's trying to fix it all up.
Okay.
I really wanted to like this. I heard an interview with CM Punk, who I was not familiar with at all. And he's clearly a fan of the genre. And I was just like, shit, I got to check this out. And I checked it out, and I was like,
damn.
Bummer.
That's too bad.
Yeah, and I think the thing that was going most against it was the budget on that one.
Was it a WWE production? Or
No.
Okay.
And I didn't realize in the interview with him, they didn't talk at all about his wrestling or anything like that. So I didn't know that that's what he was until afterwards.
Must have been a bad breakup.
He seems like a very slight man.
Yeah. He's one of the probably more like a high flyer kind of guy, like Eddie Guerrero or something like that, as opposed to The Rock or somebody who's just a mountain.
He was not a muscle-bound kind of guy in this, although he was, ripped and in good shape and covered in tats, which I imagine made the final scene a real pain in the ass for the effects guys.
Was he not covered in tats in the final scene?
He was, but there's something that happens to him that you're like, somebody obviously had to paint all those tats onto a fake torso.
Jesus. The Illustrated Man.
Yeah. I can't remember what I watched that on. It was fine, but nothing that I'd run out.
CM Punk fans will probably like it a lot. Outside of that, hard to say.
Yeah.
Well, I've got one 5-star movie challenge watch. I went with the oldest one. That just seemed fair.
Let's remind people what you're talking about.
So if you go onto iTunes and you give a 5-star review and challenge me to watch a movie, I will eventually watch it. We've got 3 or 4 in the hopper at least. So I thought, okay, well, it's time to start watching these. Now, I wasn't sure who this was initially because it's got a generic kind of, posted by. But I'm going, that looks really clever. So I looked a little bit, asked a couple around, and this was challenged for me from Mr. Anthony K.
Oh, Tony K. We love Tony.
So it's going to be something.
What, he asked you to review something like Dracula, I'm guessing.
Yes, an average one. No. It's a giallo. There's a surprise. Caught with the very, very subtle title of Strip Nude for Your Killer.
Okay, but what's the name of the movie?
It works both ways, yes. That it is actually very descriptive of the film in some ways, too. Interestingly, it's from 1975 and has no professional reviews on Rotten Tomatoes and a 41 from general public stuff, so couldn't find any box office info.
I like watching you struggle with the words critics and audience.
They're very hard to come up with. Well, here we go then. You're going to love the next part because this is who directed it, and it's an Italian movie. Let's see here. Andrea Bianchi, sounds about right, who did Burial Grounds, The Night of the Killer, which I've seen. And the interesting, also subtly titled Cry of a Prostitute.
Oh.
Written by him and Massimo Fliascio. That's right. Nailing it.
Okay.
And starring Edwige Van Heek. Apparently is pretty close. That one I actually got a little pronunciation thing for.
Ah, okay.
Who is also known for Seven Devils on Horseback and Syndicate Sadists.
Oh, nice. I like that title.
All of these actors here have huge Italian catalogs. Tons and tons of stuff. Some did some stateside stuff as well, like Nino Casanova, who was in The English Patient and a movie I just had to list called A Pain in the Ass. They sound connected, sort of. Femi Banussi, The Bloodsucker, was one of his films.
All right.
But okay, let's see. This movie starts right off the bat with a scene that's going to make sure if you are not interested in this film, you will stop watching, because it begins with a man doing a vaginal exam. And what it turns out to be is he's killing her in such a way that it won't be discoverable easily by police and detectives and stuff like that. So it's like, well, and it ain't subtle. This is not like she's got a sheet over her or anything like that, because it is stripping nude for your killer. So that's where they start. First few minutes of this film, I'm like, what? What is the hell's going on? So these two guys, after she's been killed, move her to a bathtub to set up like a killing and like a accidental death or a suicide or something. Then one guy, just after hiding the body, just beats up and hacks the hell out of the other guy and kills him. So, okay. And then a very, very uncomfortable scene of the lead lady being followed around. She walks into the scene in a bikini and a nice little, hey, here's the hot lady of our movie. And some guy in the pool has a camera and just starts following her, saying nasty things almost to her, but in a complimentary way. So, it must be nice. Ends up in a private room where they have sex together. So apparently it worked.
Well, all right.
And talks her into being a model after that. This is a weird film. And let's see, what else? Oh, it's full giallo in that you've got the creepy killer not only has black gloves, head to toe black motorcycle jacket and helmet and gloves. They do end up killing a guy in a very strange way, because the next morning you see him and he's found with his pants down and a whole lot of blood around his butt.
Oh, boy. Oh, no.
As the movie goes on and people continue to get killed and wander around naked, there's a scene where a lady gets done with a lover. The lover leaves, so she's still wandering around naked, and then there's a sound in the house. Somebody's here. What do? I wander around naked, looking in every room, because, that's what you naturally do when somebody's invading. It's also it's always weird when you're watching a foreign film and you see very Americana things in it. Like as she's walking around this house, there's a big mirror art piece, that mirror where they put words on the mirror, and It's Oklahoma.
Is it supposed to take place in the States?
If it did, they did a really bad job of making it look like that, because he's driving around in the town and it's very obvious.
Right.
So there's a couple mirrors like that. There's, I think, Louisiana and Oklahoma, and all. It's like, okay, sure, why not? It's a really long scene that builds absolutely no suspense. To connect the killer from the beginning, where they row the bath, whenever there's somebody going to get killed, water's running someplace in the house. And anybody who goes into the room where the water's running never turns it off. They just leave that room and go get killed someplace else.
Okay.
There's bad red herrings throughout the whole film. Going, okay, you want me to think it's this guy, but I'm not buying that. Insecure guy picks up one of the ladies and just goes on this weird driving thing through the town where he's just driving super fast through the city, and it looks like it was shot guerrilla style. So I'm pretty sure they actually drove through the streets like freaking maniacs.
With a gorilla in the car holding the camera.
Right.
Wow.
And then that leads to another horribly uncomfortable, sort of almost rape scene, which sort of works, but sort of doesn't. I'm going, Tony, you're mean.
Sort of works like for you?
For him.
Arousing
for the guy. No.
Oh, okay.
No, for the guy in the scene. And I think it's supposed to be there's a weird scene change. It's like, is this a new house or is this the same house? Because it's got the Oklahoma stuff, but it's a totally different person wandering around this house now. So is it a community house? Does everybody live together here, but they only do it once at a time when they can wander around naked?
Or was this mirror just a big seller that year?
That's right. It's in every house in
Right.
Italy. Oh, man. So let's see. What else is happening in this? The guy who messed up, who tried to rape the woman but wasn't capable, then walks around the house in fancy giant tidy white, because he's a big boy, with a blow-up doll that he's blowing up as he wanders around the house.
Ah, that's nice.
Yes. Yeah, if you love Giallo, you really should watch this one.
You sound a little lost.
Very much so.
Even as you're trying to describe this movie. Okay, so simple question. Did you enjoy it?
In a demented sort of way, yes, it was a fun watch. I'm probably never, ever going to watch it again. The stuff that was uncomfortable that doesn't date real well is really uncomfortable. That's, it's a 75 film. I'm usually the idea if I'm going to watch a movie from 75, it's going to have some shit that's like, oh, modern audiences are not going to digest very well. But this one had a few scenes I'm going, oh, okay. It's crazy. It's crazy stuff. It's got some, I don't have a lot of violence, but it's got some really well done violence when it does. So I think it's one of those that if this had been called Killers or something generic like that, it would probably be much less known. But Strip Nude for Your Killer is a catchy title.
It is, and yet I've never ever heard of this.
Thanks, Tony. That was an interesting watch.
Do you think that Tony was fucking with you with this choice, or was he trying to broaden your horizons?
Oh, I'd say a little bit.
Oh, okay. So you don't think this is like one of his absolute favorites?
He does own it on Blu-ray because he offered to loan it to me.
Never mind.
As a Giallo completist, I admire the owning of this on a Blu-ray. Oh, Tony. It was worth watching, honestly. It wasn't as much fun as Extra, which is the other one, which I thought just blew my brain with how strange that film was. This is a good low-rent Giallo film. So if you really like Giallo, it's got the J&B, it's got the black gloves, it's got the knives, it's got the naked weird people. It's got all the Giallo trappings.
The naked weird people.
Very large man in tidy whities for far too long.
I saw a movie.
Moving quickly on.
I saw Terminator Dark Fate.
You were the one, at least from the way the box office is looking.
Yeah, well, the theater was full this weekend when I saw it. You know what? It is action-packed and fine.
That's too bad.
I mean, there was none of the... I'll be honest, I like Terminator Genesis better. And I would like to have seen them continue that storyline. I know that's not saying much because a lot of people really hated that.
Yeah.
But I thought that was a little more interesting than...
Was this kind of a... We're starting over sort of again storyline? We're going to ignore a few of the movies?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely it was. And in fact, there's a couple of really neat ideas in this, in that Sarah Connor, they stopped the Judgment Day from happening.
Right.
Well, at least the Judgment Day from Skynet. So they stopped the Judgment Day from Skynet from happening. But it happens because of a different company now. And so that means that the technology is different and the person who can stop this is now different. I was like, okay, I'm interested. I'll follow this. And then they just kind of did nothing with that. I feel bad for Arnold. I'm rooting for him to have another hit. I would have much rather seen King Conan than another Terminator film with him in it.
Man, God, that would be so good.
I just don't think that there's a big enough audience for that.
Yeah.
So,
God, you'd think with Game of Thrones and the Lord of the Rings series and all the stuff that's been happening over the last 10, 20 years that they go, Conan might sell well right now.
Yeah, you'd think, but I don't know. It was ultimately disappointing because at the end of it, I walked out and I was like, okay. I mean, I could have waited for video for that. Really cool effects, of course.
Yeah. Well, yeah, of course.
But that's it.
Well, I get another one. I was kind of going through, and with our subject this week being WTF, I was like, well, I'm gonna go down the rabbit hole of Amazon Prime, where you click on one weird one and they say recommended, and you click on another one and you just keep going down.
That's how I find my blaxploitation or my kung fu movies or whatever.
Well, I ended up watching not all of, but probably a good 20 minutes of Serial Rabbit 5, The Epic Hunt.
Wow.
And it actually is the 5th in a series.
Serial, like S-E-R-I-A.
Serial killer rabbit.
Okay. Rabbit. Like the bunny rabbit.
It's a big 6-foot tall bunny rabbit person in a bunny rabbit that goes around killing blood. Well, this looks WTF.
I have a feeling this is from this century.
Oh, yeah. Directed, written, edited, produced, and acted by Brett William Mauser. Take that for what it's worth. It starts, I was really actually kind of encouraged at the beginning because it starts off with this stupid but incredibly well-delivered line where some guy goes out to take his garbage out or something and sees the rabbit, and the rabbit starts chasing him, and he's running like crazy, runs right by this lady and yells, "Running for a reason, lady!" And she just stands there, of course, and then the rabbit kills her as he runs by. It's like, that worked really well.
Are we supposed to believe this is a giant rabbit or just that it is a man?
It is a man, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I looked at the left tire running time, and it was almost a 2-hour movie. No. You know what? I think I'm going to look up some more stuff by Brett Mauser just to see some of his other things because there's an odd sense of humor there that could be a lot of fun.
Well, what did you discover? Did you look up other stuff?
No, later I'm going to not on this one because I needed to keep going on the WTF to find something.
Way to tease us and then
not please you. That's what I do.
So I've heard.
Do you have another one?
I'll talk about this a little bit. So Creepshow ended.
Yes. I've watched, how many episodes was it total? Like 6?
I think it was 6 total.
I think I just watched the episode that had the suitcase.
Okay. I like that episode.
Really
I like
good.
that segment, the suitcase.
That was good.
That felt like a Creepshow episode.
Punishing somebody for being
right.
Doing something stupid.
The episode with the werewolves in World War II, felt like a Creepshow episode. Mm-hmm. And none of the other ones felt like a Creepshow episode at all to me. It has been renewed for a second season, and it broke all sorts of records for viewership on Shudder. Yeah. So that's good. And I am super glad that this thing exists. And, we've got friends who wrote episodes on this season even.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
And I just don't think that it feels anything like Creepshow because Creepshow was, of course, an homage to the Tales from the Crypt comics. Then Tales from the Crypt actually came out with a series that knocked it out of the park.
So good.
And I wonder if they were trying to distance themselves from the fact that they were kind of a Tales from the Crypt ripoff to begin with. But in doing so, they lost all the good stuff about the first Creepshow movies.
The moral lessons and things like that.
Definitely none of that going on in this season, except for in the werewolf one and the suitcase.
The suitcase one I thought was that was fun.
Yeah, it was very different.
So I've got another one that I watched that was one of those, it was by Arrow, but I kind of was expecting it to be something very different than it turned out to be.
Was this something you watched as a possible WTF film? Or?
I thought it was going to be.
Okay.
It's a 1979 film called Killer Nun. I'm going, okay, this will be a fun, strange, nunsploitation kind of film. And it wasn't. It was actually quite good. It deviates strongly from the Killer Nun or the nunsploitation in that it's modern. Well, 1979 modern times, takes place in a hospital run by where the nuns do most of the care for people. It has some exploitation aspects to it. Like there's one nun that's kind of there just to sort of get naked a couple times, but not much.
Oh, I was going to say that definitely counts as nunsploitation then.
But it's only like maybe 2 scenes. So, and only one of the nuns. So it kind of deviates from that. And the lead nun thinks she's going insane and is a heroin addict.
Wow.
Is horribly cruel just in really weirdly subtle ways. Like she's feeding all the people that are staying in the hospital in one scene, and one of the ladies pisses her off, and she takes her false teeth, throws them on the ground, and just stomps them into oblivion. And it's horribly hard scene to watch. I'm going, my God, this is like almost harrowing feeling because she's being so horrible to this woman. And it's like, okay, wow, this is not what I was expecting at all. It's got a little giallo to it with some of the killings, except instead of black gloves, the gloves are pink. So,
Interesting.
There's a handsome new doctor that all the ladies are interested, all the nuns are interested in, and just this oddly, painfully violent scene where one of the people staying there gets attacked by that pink glove person, and it's just poking needles into their face.
Okay.
It's just like, oh my God.
Is this a foreign film?
It's Italian.
Oh, okay.
I believe. Boy, it is, it's got, and there's just this wildly interesting scene where a woman's falling, but it's shot in such a way that first shot, it looks like this lady is hanging somehow in this laundry chute. So, but it's just this totally heavily stylized shot. And it's just the nun looks up and screams, and it's just this weird still shot, which then becomes active and she falls, and it's kind of brutal. But honestly, I was really, really impressed with this film.
Huh. What did you watch this on?
Blu-ray. It's one of those that I bought like
Crypticon, I think, right?
Yeah. Where it's just like, buy three or four Blu-rays of stuff I've never seen, and let's see what this one is like. And gotta say, pretty impressed with this one. This is a smart, well put together, more giallo than nunsploitation film. So I would say if you've got an interest in that kind of stuff, man, check this one out. The transfer is gorgeous, of course, because Arrow is right up there with Shout Factory and all those guys. So
nice.
Weird title for a movie of what it actually is.
Well, I finished my Halloween viewing with a viewing of Trick or Treat, my favorite heavy metal version. Okay. And but this time I had ordered it on Blu-ray from Germany, and
it's a different title there.
Yeah,
isn't it?
it's called Ragman. And if you remember from the movie, that's Mark Price's nickname is Ragman. I'm not sure why they went with that, but this is a really nice transfer. Also, it's so much better than the bargain bin DVD, which is the only way you can get it right now.
Is it? Region free?
Yes.
Oh, wow. Nice.
The only problem is there's 2 featurettes on there that are completely in German. There's no option to have any kind of English subtitles or anything like that. I still watched them, and they looked incredibly boring. But, the Blu-ray, I grabbed it off of eBay. I think it was $19.99. And if you like this movie, it really looks good. And especially if you like this and you own that shitty DVD version like I have for the last 10 years, and you've watched it, this thing is just a huge difference in picture quality.
Can you watch it clean? Like you don't have to have subtitles on it?
Oh, no, you don't have to have subtitles or anything like that. Yeah, it's in the English language, and you can turn the subtitles off, no problem.
Very cool. I may have to look out for that one.
Yeah, it's groovy. Well, cool, man.
I'm ready to go to our WTFs if you are.
Oh, boy. Well, I got to drive, but yeah. Why don't we take a little break, and when we come back, we'll jump into What the Fuck?
We're traveling through a dimension both of sound and ideas. We're at a place where the mind can comprehend and devise a solar radio, a wireless transmitter, measure time and light. 65 electronic projects brought to reality with this science fair kit. Astonishing? Perhaps. But you can find it for Christmas for $17.95 in a place that's known as Radio Shack.
Radios, stereos, recorders, everything in sound.
We're back. I kind of wonder if maybe Vanessa couldn't make it this week because she couldn't come up with a movie for this topic.
That would be pretty sad because this is a very, very wide
It's wide
topic.
open. No, if any of you are really wondering, she is, so Eric and I dabble in filmmaking and all this stuff, but this is actually the way she makes a living.
Yeah.
Is she's a full-time editor. So she's working on some project that is getting pushed through very quickly. And so she is working very late hours. And she did apologize for not being able to make it and promised that she would be here next weekend. And in fact, told us what her pick for her subgenre.
Wide as this one is, that one's oddly narrow, but we'll get to that much later.
Yeah, I got words for her. But since this was my topic, the WTF, I will go first.
All righty.
I chose a crazy little film from 1987 called Anguish.
Mrs. Pressman had high hopes for her son, John.
John is your best boy, isn't he, Mother?
Yes, John. You're my best boy and the best surgeon in town.
But the world conspired against him.
I told you to take these things out of my eyes.
Don't get upset.
Take them out. Do you hear me? Do you hear me? Do you hear me? Do you hear me?
Don't be sorry.
Until John found a way to please his mother.
Well, you did a good job, John.
Add to his collection.
All the eyes of the city will be ours.
And even get into the movies.
One place.
You have no idea what it's like to really suffer. Don't stop.
No one is going to leave here.
Do it. Don't stop.
Anguish.
See what happens when you disobey Mother?
Anguish.
The one I keep getting confused. The other.
Yeah, and I didn't even know there was another Anguish. But more importantly, have you seen this film at all?
I have not.
Oh, this is your kind of
I
film.
have to say, it looks like something I would like a lot.
There's some weird, almost Italian filmmaking going on in this too. So it's okay. Let me just get into this. It's crazy. First of all, the budget for this, well, let me get into written and directed by Bigas Luna, who has done a ton of Spanish-speaking films, and nothing that I recognize besides this. This was his English language film.
Sorry, what was that first name again?
Bigas.
All right. Just thinking of a Monty Python reading
Yes. I know you were. It had a budget of $2 million.
Oh, okay.
And a box office of $229,000.
I don't think you're going to say million after that.
In the U.S. I could find no global box office for this, but I don't know. I missed this movie completely. 1987. I mean, I was watching a lot of horror movies, and I never even heard of this until just a couple years ago. It's got a Rotten Tomatoes critics rating of 60%, so that makes it just barely fresh. The audience gives it 64%, which keeps it just barely fresh. I firmly believe that is because the movie is so fucking crazy that nobody knows exactly what to do with it, because it is a well-made, well-acted movie. It stars Michael Lerner, who has a million credits.
Oh,
if you don't know him, he was in the Days of Future Past X-Men just recently as one of the senators who votes to get the Sentinels going. He was in Maniac Cop 2. He was in the TriStar version of Godzilla, and literally like 100 other television and film credits. As soon as you see him, you're going to go, "Oh, that guy." And then Zelda Rubinstein, who was in Poltergeist, and if she was in anything else, I never saw it. But
This house is clear.
That's her. That's her. So the movie starts with a warning.
Oh, all right.
And it says, during the film, you will be subjected to subliminal messages and mild hypnosis. And then goes into a couple other things. And this is important because during the film, there is hypnosis of some of the people going on and stuff like that. And there's lots of spirals going on. And some of them are kind of hypnotic, actually. As you're watching it, you could definitely feel yourself kind of getting lulled into a weird sense of, I don't know if I want to say dread. Well, confusion mostly, because you're like, what the fuck is going on?
Do you think it would have had a larger impact if you'd been like in a theater watching that?
Oh, fuck yeah. And I really wish I would, because being in a theater is a big part of this film.
Oh, okay.
So Lerner works at an eye clinic, and he's one of these guys who's like trying to help in the opening scene. He's trying to help this woman put on her contacts. Now, this is 1987, so they look like they're hard contacts.
Oh, yeah.
And he has disastrous results. And she is saying, I'm calling the manager and I'm getting you fired and everything. Well, then it cuts to Zelda Rubinstein in her home, and she is listening to this happen to him through like a seashell. Right? Right? Are you with me so far? She's got some kind of psychic connection to him, and she can hear things that are going on in his life.
Oh, wow.
When he gets home, she then kind of hypnotizes him. She puts this spiral like record on a record player, and you're watching. The camera's like looking straight down at it, and it's spinning, and the spiral is going the opposite direction. And she's like shooting him full of these psychic subliminal messages and everything. And so he then goes and sneaks out and sneaks into the home of the lady from earlier and kills her. And in a fairly brutal scene, which involves him like scooping her eyes out.
Oh, well. Okay.
So you're like settling in for this and you're going, fuck yeah, what is this movie? And then the screen does this weird thing where you're watching the screen and then the camera pulls back and you're watching this on a movie screen. And you're in a theater now watching this movie that you've been watching. And there are a couple of people in there, but the people we're focusing on are a couple of young women who are watching this scary movie. One of them's getting into it, and one of them is very uncomfortable with this. So then it starts going back and forth where you are in the movie that they're watching, and then you're in the theater, and in the theater there is a murderer.
Holy shit.
And he's in the lobby. He's like sneaks into the women's bathroom, kills somebody there. And then, of course, one of the ladies that we're watching in the theater, she has to go to the bathroom and you're like, oh, God, there's a killer in there. And she's having all these weird flashes while she's watching the movie because you realize that warning they give you on the screen was what they saw in the theater. Oh. And so she's feeling like, I think it's really working on me. This is making me feel really weird. Jesus. So it gets, it starts blurring the lines even more because a third level comes in at the very end.
Jesus.
So they're dealing with the killer in the theater. The movie that you're watching on the screen is starting to wrap up. And then the killer from the movie is suddenly also in the theater now. He was not the killer that you saw. That was a different killer in the theater. Now, though, he has somehow crossed over into the real world. Hey, spoiler, you guys, if you're kind of interested in this film, just turn it off for the next 15 seconds. But I got to tell you, the kicker is the end credits roll after all of this shit. And then the camera pulls back from the end credits, and it's a different audience watching the whole thing that you just watched, too. And that's the movie ends, and the audience walks and gets out, and then the screen goes blank.
Inception.
I fucking love this movie so much. This got mentioned on, I don't remember what podcast, but somebody was talking about it a couple years ago, and I thought, well, shit, I gotta see this movie. And man, I wish this is one of those ones that if you live in LA, every once in a while, like at the New Beverly or something, they pull up weird films, and the Cinerama does that here, but they do it with gigantic classics, so you can see
Evil
2001
or something like that.
Right. But this is a movie that I think would benefit so much from watching in a theater. It's super weird, and it's got some legit scary scenes in it. And I don't know about you, eye trauma has always been a big trigger for me, where I'm just like, oh God. And the killer in the movie, of course, that's the whole thing. If you find this movie, I remember vaguely when I saw the cover, I was like, oh shit, I have passed this at Blockbuster maybe 1,000 times. And it's got Zelda Rubinstein standing next to a wall, and on the wall are hundreds of eyeballs. Does this ring a bell at all?
That sounds very familiar.
Yeah. And I was like, fuck, I have passed this movie 100 times and just thought, no thanks, looks weird, not interested. And now I've watched it like 3 times in the 2 years since I discovered it.
Is this available easily?
No,
okay.
you got it. I mean, it's available to buy easily, yes, but it's not streaming anywhere.
Oh, okay. Well, sounds like one to own almost.
Yeah, it's really fucking cool. I absolutely love it. It's called Anguish.
Nice.
What about you?
Mine's pretty weird. Not that weird. Boy, also, I think sounds like a criminally underrated film like that one does. And that was I Bought a Vampire Motorcycle.
Most good motorcycles run on gasoline. This is a bad motorcycle. It runs on blood. Unfortunately, the bike's previous owner is now dead.
2.5 grand's a bit heavy for a crashed bike.
No, the bike's not been crashed. The last owner didn't die on it. Had an accident with a crossbow.
Nick Uddy is the machine's new legal owner, but he will never have true possession of it because it's already possessed by someone or something else. Perhaps he should have suspected something when his best friend was found horribly murdered.
You! And now, it's death time!
Made of steel, forged in hell. No one is safe from the wheels of death. Beware, the vampire motorcycle could be right up your street.
She's such a little machine. She runs on blood instead of gasoline.
I bought a vampire motorcycle.
That's right.
I've not heard of this film.
It's a 1990 film. Remember I used to talk about Canopy a lot, that you sign up with your library card?
Yeah.
This is on that.
Okay.
And they seem to have whoever does the catering for their show does a damn good job.
Wait a second. I'm completely lost. Whoever does the catering?
For Canopy, whoever puts together their
Oh.
catalog and stuff like that. This has another one that with no critics rating, but 56 from the audience. It's British. First I thought it was Australian. It has a very Australian-y looking to it in the beginning. Directed by Dirk Campbell, who most of his other stuff is all kids things like Winnie the Pooh and stuff like that. So I was like, all right, this is a departure. It's written by McCall Miller. This is the only thing he did, at least that he's listed as having done. And John Wolskell, who wrote Crucible of the Vampire in 2019.
I gotta interrupt you because it's been bothering me for so long.
Curated, yes.
Not
catered.
It's just like, what does he mean with this word? Curated. Okay.
Curated. Starring Neil Morrissey, UK's Bob the Builder, and a whole lot of TV stuff. Amanda Noir, Michael Elpchick, who is in Pirates, Gorky Park, and Krull.
Wait a second. Amanda Noir? Like
Noar.
Oh, Noar.
Yeah.
Noir, I'm guessing.
Okay. Not
Noir. I was like, that's the coolest fucking name ever. Amanda Noir, vampire hunter.
That would have been awesome. And somebody else you've probably heard of, Anthony Daniels. C-3PO plays the priest in this film.
From 1990.
Yeah. So it's sort of a dead zone of Star Wars. So
yeah.
This is a fun movie. It's basically a comedy. Far more than anything
you don't
else.
Say? I bought a vampire motorcycle. Turns out to be a comedy.
Comedy, that's right. It starts off with a very strange ritual where they're trying. It seems like it's demon ritual, but instead they're raising a vampire. I'm like, oh, okay, whatever. And things get wrong. Another motorcycle gang comes in and takes them all out. And as the vampire is rising, it goes into a motorcycle. So now you've got a vampire motorcycle.
What kind of motorcycle is this? Are we talking like a Ninja, Kawasaki?
Oh, no. It's Kawasaki, very, very much
like a Harley or.
These are not impressive looking motorcycles in this.
Oh, no.
They're very, there's no Harleys. There's nothing that they're small, kind of, those motorcycles that have the handlebars that seem uncomfortably close and stuff like that.
Oh, man.
It's got a lot of those. So
all right.
It wasn't done by somebody who goes, I'm going to show off my Harley. Like, no. And hey, if you think you can never learn anything from movies, I learned Fancy a Donald, which for some reason is a business or British term for having sex.
I wonder if that's because it's so pleasant to do it.
That's it, damn it. So anyways, it starts off with, what I described, and then the motorcycle gets purchased, and somehow it cuts to this horribly bloody scene where there's blood and shit everywhere and the guy's been beheaded. And somehow the motorcycle did this. We're led to believe the motorcycle did that. So it's like, all right. The inspector shows up to look at the crime scene smelling strongly of garlic. Now, this is important later on. And there's another scene. I'd forgotten how weird this movie is at a point where the guy has going to the bathroom and gets attacked by his poo.
Oh, my.
I believe that turns out to be a dream. But it's a very weird scene.
It's really shitty, actually.
Yeah. It's a big, giant bar fight between 15 bikers, the lead guy and his girlfriend. So it's 2 versus 15. And they do quite well against this group of 15 bikers who are after him because earlier on he'd drove real fast by them and somehow the vampire motorcycle knocked them all off their motorcycles. So they're after this guy because they think somehow he pushed them all over. So they have fun with that scene. That goes on probably a little too long, but it's still damn funny. And he starts to finally kind of realize that something weird's going on with his motorcycle. And then it starts to take over. Him and his girlfriend are on the motorcycle after the bar fight, and they go to this Chinese restaurant, and they order a bunch of Chinese food, including garlic prawns. Well, as he comes out with the garlic prawns to put on the motorcycle speeds away with nobody on it. Okay, so you can't bring garlic. Oh, because, it's a vampire.
Holy shit.
And there's somehow, I don't know how this happens, but once it starts to go rogue and taking over its own stuff, it decides to hunt down a bunch of people and grows like a crossbow or something in the front and starts shooting bolts out and spearing people from a distance and stuff. I'm going, I don't remember a vampire ever doing that, but sure, what the hell? I guess a motorcycle needs some way to reach out and kill. And so he goes, so now the motorcycle's driving around on its own most of the time now. It's got to, hide during the day as the sun starts to come up.
Of course it does.
So it goes back to the guy who bought its garage and parks in there. So the guy goes home, hey, here's my motorcycle. What the hell's going on? And goes and gets Anthony Daniels, the priest, to come in and help them bless the vampire and take it over. They're trying to pull it. Every time they try to move it, well, we need to move it here to work on a little bit farther. Well, that would move it into a beam of sunshine. So the motorcycle refuses to be moved and stuff. I tell you, it's weird. It's weird, but it's actually pretty damn funny. And as they're kind of nearing the end, the motorcycle's chasing him around and the detective investigator shows up. Remember, smelling strongly of garlic.
Of course.
So whenever the motorcycle goes after him, he looks down and goes, the motorcycle goes the other way.
Wow.
So I got to tell you, this was... You know how a lot of times we've watched a movie that go, this movie is so much better and has any right to be?
Right.
This is kind of one of those films.
Okay, well then let me ask you, how does it look? I mean, it looks professional?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, they had it. I couldn't find anything on budgeting or box office or anything like that, but it's very well shot. It's well acted. Everybody in it is solid, if sometimes over the top, because they've got... British humor's weird. I like British humor a lot.
Sure.
So... Maybe there's some things if you don't like British humor, it's because British humor is often really campy and really dry, sometimes at the same time, which I enjoy. I think is hilarious. But so if you don't like British humor, I don't think you're gonna like this movie at all because it's freaking weird. And they actually have a pretty nice camera that is like the eye of the motorcycle when it's driving around. Sometimes it looks really good. So it's a solidly made film.
Let's see. How do you think they approached Anthony Daniels? He was probably like, look, yes, I do want to be in another movie. I'd love to play it as long as I don't have to act against an inanimate object again. I'd be in any movie.
My head is fully revealed the whole time. It felt like a movie, honestly, that was... You know how Spaced, the TV show?
Yeah.
Kind of felt like a bunch of people just getting together to BS with each other because they liked hanging out at times. That's sort of what that show would feel like at times. Like, right. I don't know what you guys are doing, but you're having a lot of fun doing it.
Right.
This movie is very much that. I think this is a whole bunch of buddies, which you could just see why some of them, like the director, had done almost nothing but kids stuff and the writers really didn't do any other writing. So it kind of just feels like, let's have some fun. And some of the scenes are very much that. Like the bar fight is very much, let's just be goofy and weird and have fun. So I think that's a lot of what it was. A lot of drugs, maybe a lot of alcohol.
Did you recognize any of the other actors, even vaguely?
Yeah. I've seen you in the background of something or things like that. But
okay, so this was on Canopy.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll have to search this out. We might as well do this on air. Do I have to go to the library to get a library card to get Canopy, or can I just sign up for this online?
I believe you can just sign up online. I had a very weird experience with this. As many of you know, I worked at Suncoast for many years, and I call up the Canopy to find it. They weren't letting me in. I was blocked for some reason. Like it flat out said, "You are blocked." I'm like, what the hell's going on? So I called the King County library system. I said, "Hey, this is so-and-so. Here's my library card number." The guy's like, "Did you used to work at Suncoast?" I'm like, "Yes." "Hi, I was he was this guy named Eric who was there for a long time." I'm like, "Oh, I remember you. What's up? How you doing?" It's just like, okay, this is weird. This customer service was very good for the King County library system.
Why were you blocked?
He couldn't tell. I'm like, damn it, come on. I want a juicy story. There's got to be a good reason. Did I watch something I wasn't supposed to?
Well, wait a second. So had you been using it for a bit and then you got blocked?
I hadn't used it in a while. So.
But you had been using it without issue and then you were suddenly blocked. Oh, that's even more interesting.
Yeah. I'm like, well, it's not that big a deal. You can't buy anything from this. I'm not sure what is going on.
What could you have possibly done?
We'll never know.
Well, you can tell me when we're off the air. It's interesting because, as you know, and nobody else knows, literally 1/2 block from here is the Everett Library.
Yeah, that's right.
But it is also a hangout for most of the homeless people here because they have an open bathroom there, and so that's where they shower. And most people don't like going to the library here, including me.
I think you can sign up online.
That's what I will do then, because I do want to take advantage of this. And I think is it just Canopy or is there a couple other ones?
Canopy and Hoopla.
Yeah, Hoopla.
Hoopla has more stuff. They've got comic books and music as well as movies. Their interface is kind of crappy, at least on Apple TV. I don't know if it's better someplace else. Canopy's really good. Canopy's really good and really smooth. Works really well.
Okay.
But, you can double how much you can rent in a month.
Right. Hey, I'm looking through my notes here, and I forgot to mention one little thing that I thought was interesting about that.
What the fuck? Oh.
About that Anguish movie. That was that the Zelda Rubinstein character, that was originally going to be Bette Davis.
Oh, my.
But then as the shooting schedule got arranged, it didn't work for her, and so they went with Zelda Rubinstein. So I thought that was worth noting at least. Okay, well, that's cool. This means it's Vanessa's pick for the next.
Vanessa, what do you have?
Well, guys, I thought that I'd like to do something that's a little different, and I'm going to pick something that's incredibly specific, oddly specific, and I'm picking movies with pizza scenes in it. Eric,
I'm going to make sure I cut out that audio and send to her just in case she doesn't listen. So you have to hear this at least. Anyways, yes, pizza.
She said movies with pizza scenes. Now, a lot of people might not realize that Vanessa has a secret pizza life also.
That's right. She dresses up as a slice of pizza at many of the conventions she goes to, and she's got quite the little cult following.
Yes.
Of people that know her for that.
So
okay.
So this might seem like a weird topic, but that's only because it is. I'm eager to see what the listeners come up with for films that they'd like to see with this on. But that's what we're doing next week. So, hey, you guys, thanks so much for all the comments and everything. Keep the 5-star reviews coming in.
Give me some more.
So you said there's a couple of them backlogged.
I've still got a couple in the queue.
Can you give us a hint of what other movies you have to watch?
I Saw the Dead and When a Stranger Calls.
Oh, When a Stranger Calls. Okay, yeah. All right. It's coming from your pants. The call is coming from your pants. Get out of your pants.
I don't remember that version, but sounds interesting.
That might have been the porn. What do you call it when they make a porn version of the film?
Porn parody?
There you go, parody.
I can't remember.
You can't remember curated. And I can't remember parody. Jesus. All right, you guys, that's it. We will see you all next week.
Thank you. See ya.
Our show is recorded somewhere high above Naval Station Everett at the nexus of all realities and is engineered and produced by Eric Morgret. Our theme music is Strange Aeons Part 1 by the band Nightshade and is used with permission. Find Strange Aeons Radio on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and wherever fine